The following is intended for mature audiences only. May contain strong language, crude humor, adult themes, and suggestive material.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Darksome powers of the night, gather round my crystal ball. When this man brushes his teeth, from his mouth they shall fall.
What? Speak to an agent. Operator. Operator.
Hey, I'm Jake Bradbury,
And I'm Will Blank.
and we are 20th Century Fox, a film collective that produced 16 short films, and for each film, we made a behind-the-scenes podcast. On this week's episode, we have director of photography Alejandro Wilkins, and we learn the framework for what's to come. We discuss our main motto, which was, let's do it right now, and this is the first short in the series, and the one that started it all. It was super fun and a bit intense. We learned that Alejandro is a true professional, except when he leaves the podcast without a word, only to return from the bathroom to remind us, don't quit your day job, hold on to your day job.
This is the Sunday episode.
This is the Sunday episode, yeah.
It
This is
is.
our podcast for the Sunday episode. The first one we ever shot.
The first one we ever shot. Well, no, we don't need to introduce. Well, who is here is Alejandro, Jake, and me. Will.
Hello.
Well, Will. Who's
I'm
me
Will.
in this context?
That's what I just said, Will.
Right.
Will's right here.
I'm right here.
Yeah. I'm right here, I'm Jake. This is the Jake voice.
Jake's over there.
Okay, so we just rewatched it.
Well, actually, I have a question for you first, because you're the one who convinced both Alejandro and I to do Sunday.
That's
And
true.
I want to know, this is,
What,
you're
why?
the...
Why did I
Yeah,
do that?
you're the reason that this even happened.
Yeah, so Alejandro and I worked on a short film together, and it won an award.
What was that film
It
called?
was
again?
called Limbo.
Oh, Alejandro shot that.
And Alejandro shot it, and Guillermo del Toro, no big deal, said it was fucking great.
And then he
liked
stopped
it.
responding to
And then
your
he stopped
other
responding to
emails.
me after I was like, hey, why don't you make my movie? And then he was like,
In the wind. In the wind.
He fell off into the email ether.
Yeah. But cool enough.
You
that
got
he
into the
responded
spam
initially.
box.
no, but I emailed with him 3 or 4 times, man. We had a
Nice.
correspondence.
You
But
were Guillermo del Toro.
he was cool.
Best
But anyway,
buds.
so anyway, that we won this award, and then I really didn't make any films for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And
Jesus.
and at a certain point, I was like, well, when am I gonna actually do this? Well, am I just gonna wait until magically I feel like I want to make another movie. Like, and Alejandro had won awards separately for the same film.
Oh, snap.
And so he was an emerging cinematographer with
now
now
you're just an old cinematographer.
Well, now you're emerged. No one cares about you.
I don't know.
Although people seem to win it over and over again.
Shells. I'm trying to burst through.
People seem to keep winning it over and over again. So you have a chance to be an emerging cinematographer again.
The emerging period takes years and years. They didn't tell you this.
That's true.
Very true.
But yeah.
You
don't just emerge. I guess some people do.
Yeah.
They just burst
Fully
onto the
formed,
scene.
like butterflies. Beautiful cinematography butterflies.
So back on track.
So
cinematography.
Anyway,
butterflies.
so he won a bunch of camera packages and stuff for his award.
Nice.
And he was like, "Hey, I got this red weapon camera.
Red weapon,
Right?
Dragon,
Triple X.
It was something
dragon sensor, weapon body.
where it was just a good thing.
It's a really good camera.
And so we were like, he was like, "Hey, if you have anything, like I have it for a week, like we should shoot with it." And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't have any ideas."
I just come back from Japan with it.
You just come back from Japan, shooting a
You don't have to
documentary.
brag, man.
Yeah, no big deal.
I needed to add that.
Actually,
in there,
it's funny
by the way.
because we just live in Glendale, and like Alejandro is like goes to Peru
All the
and
time. He's
Japan
like,
and
"Where were you
like
last
foreign
week?"
places
"Oh, I don't know."
where people just pay him
Lost
sometimes
in the
to
Amazon.
shoot.
where
And-
were you?
and then we don't even ask him questions about his trips.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. We're like, yeah, well, local Glendale politics are pretty interesting. Let's talk about that.
Most people only care about themselves.
Yeah, so we're no exception apparently. And so anyway, he had the camera. I was like, well, I don't have an idea, so I went to Jake and I was
Called
like,
your old buddy,
my old
Jake
buddy Jake,
Bradbury.
who we would make films all the time when we were in college and
he's
outside
like,
of college.
Ideas, go.
And we were like, hey, let's come up with something. And initially, it wasn't, oh, we're just going to come up with it on the day. It was like, oh, we're going to come up with a rough idea and we won't plan it. We'll just come up with the idea and then we'll execute. And so somehow we thought like a curse was going to be like a funny, that was the thing that we would build an idea around. It was like, what if you just got cursed when you were walking down the street?
I actually had an iteration of this idea a long time ago of like a guy getting like dick cursed.
Dick cursed?
Yeah, like his dick got cursed and he had 24 hours to like break the curse or it would fall off. But that had nothing to do with this. It was just the curse sort of thing that I thought was really funny. Like be able to, when you're walking the street, living a normal life, and then a gypsy curses you. That's endless possibilities.
Yeah, endless possibilities seemed fun. And so we came up with the curse and then we were like, okay, well, and hey, Alejandro.
Alejandro just
he
left
just
the
got up
session.
and left.
Yeah, just in the middle of our podcast, he was
You know what? He never peed. That's probably what it was.
Oh, that's what it is.
He's probably peeing.
Yeah.
Is the door closed?
Yeah, the door is
closed.
closed.
So he's peeing.
So that's what it is.
So should we go over there?
Ocean noises.
And so we had the curse framework, and then we were like, okay, well, we have to think up what the actual curse is,
right.
which was involved writing poetry essentially. Right. So I think you like looked up actual curses.
Yeah.
And then we like shaped.
Yeah.
How did we settle on like brushing your teeth being a part of the curse?
Because we wanted something that was like so mundane.
Yeah.
You know, something that like you would have to do.
Yeah.
You couldn't just not brush your teeth
right.
for the rest of your life.
Right.
So when she curses him, or when the old gypsy woman curses him, played by me.
Yes.
We came up with this, like, not a haiku, but a poem, like this curse poem about if you brush your teeth, all of your teeth will fall out.
And then, we wrote it on the day, on the way over,
On the way over
to Alejandro's place.
Yeah.
We wrote the curse, and we had picked out your outfit. We had gone to
right.
Goodwill, and we had bought like, a black. I had like a black sheet,
yeah.
And then we bought like a babushka shawl, and then. And then that was kind of. Then we were like, all right. And then I had like we had a crystal ball. It was like sort of a small disco ball.
Yeah, we had these little disco balls, these little props and things.
But it didn't work.
What we're finding is that like props really inspire us when we look around what we have right in front of us. So I think like we just looked around Will's house at the time. And we're like, that sheet will work. This thing will work. Let's go to Goodwill real quick. Pick up anything that's vaguely gypsy related.
Yeah.
And then no makeup or anything. So it's just me. You can just see my nose and my eyes. And it's ridiculous. I remember being in Alejandro's neighborhood.
Yeah.
And of course when you're shooting in a neighborhood, people are walking around. And like tons of people were walking around that day, just like sort of looking at us as they passed.
It reminded me of the Lonely Island where they were shooting a scene, I guess, where they were robbing each other.
Yeah.
But one of them was dressed as an old woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And then apparently Kiefer Sutherland was driving by and he stopped and like broke up the robbery, thinking it was real.
Well, he was on 24 at the time, so he like went into Jack Bauer mode.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm gonna save the day, and almost hit one of them in the face.
And so nothing cool like that happened to us, to be clear. Just people kind of gawking from across the street, or like being awkward about passing us on the sidewalk on our same side.
But what was so interesting about shooting this one, and this one being the first one, is that we started laying the framework for how we were going to do these things. Because we got there and we're like, okay, this is the space we have.
Yeah.
We have the neighborhood, we have the camera. Alejandro, we rented some really fancy lenses until we learned that they're really expensive.
And then we stopped doing
and then we stopped doing that. But we laid the framework for this kind of collaborative idea where you're just like, let's do it right now. What do we got? Let's like come up with lines on the spot. Let's improv. Let's make it happen. And it was really fun. I remember it being super fun.
It's funny because I do remember it being fun, but I also remember it being a super intense grind at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I remember actually being like, oh my God, this is why I prefer to edit things and not shoot things.
Yeah.
This is why I prefer to not be.
Part of it was getting used to Alejandro, because Alejandro comes from a cinematographer background.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's thinking about it, like, how do I shape the light? Where do I place the camera? What lens do I have to use? And all that takes time, especially when it's just him.
And we got there late. You know what?
Yeah.
I think we should pause until he comes
I
back.
think
All right. We're pausing because I think he's handling some serious business. So we're gonna take a pause. All right.
That was a long dump I just took.
We're back. And we're back. Alejandro
is back.
How are you? Okay?
Yeah.
Are you?
I mean, I'm better.
Good.
That Peruvian marching powder really got to me.
Peruvian.
Exactly.
But
is that just cocaine? It is. Okay.
So we just talked about the start, Alejandro, of that day, or in the idea, the genesis of the Sunday idea. What was your impression? Because you've always been like, dude, why don't we shoot something? Let's shoot something. And I'm like, I don't have any ideas. And then, so give us your side of it.
When I first heard of it?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm game. I think that's how it was. I don't honestly remember. It's been a while.
But like we came to you with the idea. We're like, okay, it's gonna have to do with the curse, and like, what was. We had to come to you and be like, all right, we want to do this thing, and then you had to start thinking about how we were gonna shoot it, basically, right?
Was it just free form like
you don't
that?
Remember?
You were just like,
you still remember
like,
any
okay,
of
this is
Are
the
we
story.
just like tertiary at like fourth level characters in your life? Like we're just like like a blip on your radar.
It's just like everything just goes. So honestly, if we take me back to when you told me about this, you got to tell me how I reacted. I don't remember.
When did we do it? In November?
Yeah, I think so. What I
Last
remember
November of
distinctly-
2017.
It felt like a year ago when we shot
Here's
this.
distinctly what I remember. I remember how long it took to get those lenses. There we go.
Okay, what did we
remember.
shoot on? Red Weapon with
These
Cook
are
lenses?
CP2s, I think.
CP2s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We
then
tried
to
get Pancros. And the guy had a set of Pancros. And I was all stoked on the Pancros. And we couldn't get him. He had him somewhere. It was like last minute on ShareGrid. And we found somebody with some CP2s. So we used the CP2s, which were cool.
So we went over there, and I remember being in the car with Will waiting for you for like 45 minutes.
We didn't start shooting until like 1 or 2 p.m. and it made me really nervous.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, we don't have any daylight. This takes place in the day.
And meanwhile,
it felt like we were in the car for almost 45 minutes.
Well, it was.
Really
I remember it was just long in general because I was trying to get out of there, but I wasn't trying to be rude. And it was also like he had me sign all this paperwork that he had to like print out and get all this stuff. And so yeah, so it took a while.
So we finally got it.
ShareGrid, for those of you who don't know, is a rental website where you just exchange money
Equipment
for
and money.
equipment.
It's a great utility for these kinds of shoots because it
ShareGrid.
was so on the flight. Yeah, ShareGrid.
And you can get it on a Sunday or a Saturday.
Any day.
Any
Yeah,
day
that's
that
what
you
I mean.
want.
It's
Yeah,
like on notice, we were able to get these prime lenses.
Okay, so
buddy.
then we finally got to the shoot,
No,
right?
no.
We finally got to the shoot.
Yeah, so we got so then we were still. I don't even think we had an idea yet at that point. It was during the shooting where I was like, oh, what this really is we're making people watch the mundane shit that you do on a Sunday.
Right.
There was at some point that we came up with that sort of like, okay, you think it's going to be this big thing with the curse, and then actually that doesn't factor into anything.
No.
And like we just trick you into watching me vacuum.
Right.
And like I found there was something that like really was satisfying to me about that.
There's some really
Wait,
beautiful
I think-
shots in that.
I think I remember like really digging it, the
Yeah.
simplicity of it in the beginning. Like I was pretty on board and game for it. Because the reason why I'm like, I don't remember exactly, because sometimes I'm not. Sometimes it takes a while to like get me on board with an idea. But I think, this one has script, right?
No.
No, it was just you just
No,
told
we
me
just
over
came
the phone.
up with the shots on
Yeah,
the.
with the ideas.
You did just tell me on the phone.
Yeah.
And I do remember being sort of stoked on the mundane portion of it.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I did have that part of that idea fleshed, or not. It wasn't fleshed, but it was there.
And
It's
it
like,
was,
it's
it
not
was
actually
also,
about the curse.
It was also us coming up with shots on the fly in Alejandro's apartment.
Yeah,
going
yeah.
like, okay, this is a cool shot. You would just come up with shots. Like,
I remember you asking for pictures of my apartment.
Yeah. So we could think of things to happen in the
Right.
apartment.
Yeah. So this was like literally right when I had gotten back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I took some snapshots. Thankfully, my place was clean, and then sent them over to you. And you guys were like, yeah, this will work.
my favorite shot of the whole thing is that overhead shot where you're folding the clothes and you hear the sound design of the kids playing in the background.
Yeah.
There's just a progression of someone's day,
Yeah.
and then you almost forget. There's almost enough time elapses where you almost forget that he was cursed.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, he's suddenly reminded, then the audience is suddenly reminded that if he brushes his teeth,
He's gonna lose all.
he's going to
his
lose
teeth.
all his teeth. He's cursed. And then we thwart expectations once again because he doesn't give a shit and he just brushes his teeth.
And it's fine.
And it's fine.
And that's like that's almost like a real thing that would happen, that you'd walk down the street in one of these cities and then some crazy person would say some shit to you that would even like kind of get into your head possibly, and then but of course they're just a crazy person.
Have you guys ever been cursed
I've never been cursed by
Never been
by a
cursed. I've
homeless
been
person
cursed
or-
at.
by anybody?
Yeah.
Been cursed
No,
at,
I've never
but
been
no.
cursed. I've never done anything to make somebody
You?
mad like that.
Oh.
No, I just think that'd be really weird if somebody were to come up to me and like
It's like, your ancestors.
some random shit like that. I'd be like,
It would sort of play with your head a bit,
yeah.
for sure.
But there was and then the thing is, and this is a testament to Alejandro's cinematography, is that since we got such a late start, like everything in the apartment was shot at night basically.
Oh yeah.
It was all
Yeah,
just
Well, once
you-
we were inside, I guess the idea was that okay, we can kind of light this.
Yeah, and it was just you. Like I
It
don't
was
even know how you did it.
impressive.
You had like one light panel that you put on
Yeah.
a C-stand.
The light mat that I won
Dude.
from the ECA awards.
Yeah.
That light mat is my favorite
Thanks.
light.
It is so
Thanks,
incredible.
Local
just-
600.
Yeah.
It's just like lit up the entire room and it looks like it's daylight. All of those apartment shots look like it's daylight.
Yeah, I don't even think about it. When I watch it now,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's daylight.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's
Right.
it's evening. Oh yeah, and every single time we knew the general
The sun is
progression of
changing.
like, and we knew the general progression of the events like towards the end, like being at the computer was at night.
Right.
It was like stuff you would do when you're winding down, even and so you
And
lit
then
it
that
that
evening
way.
shot too, with the and credit goes to you for sound design because like every little thing plays into
Yeah.
that progression of time. That's the thing. Like this is what I love about this stuff is that yes, the ideation of it is like kind of casual, like whatever, let's shoot and do whatever, but then the care that is put into it in the production and then the post production is immense.
It's immense is
Is the right word.
No, I'll take it. No, because we really do care, and that's why it's been so hard to edit the most recent stuff. Is that it like needs to be. It just takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Fucking sound design it, color it, all this shit.
I'm always really amazed at how you say it takes a long time, but especially in the beginning with the first couple of them, I was like amazed at how quickly they came together.
That's because I didn't have a job.
That helps.
Yeah,
that really helps.
It's because
Can you not have a job again?
I want to not have a job.
Quit your job.
Yeah, quit your job and do this full time.
No. Never quit your day job. Don't.
That's
like so many people are like, quit your day job, travel the world, or
if anyone
live
is
your dream. No,
dude,
don't quit your day job.
I have been ignoring so
Hold on
many
to your
blog
day
posts.
job.
I've been ignoring so many blog posts.
And just, play the long game, people. Everyone, play the long game.
No, it's cool. We're going to have success when I'm like 80.
Right.
And,
That's fine.
And I'll be able to make
Here's a
whatever I
question
want
for
when
you,
I
Will.
can barely think.
When you're
How
80...
How many blogs do you check a day that say, quit your job and live your dreams? Because I'm checking that at least once a week.
Oh, there's a lot of them, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I always put that on my blog. That's why I'm correcting it now.
Good.
I'm realizing... No,
yeah,
I'm kidding.
everybody listening out there,
Don't go to
follow
my
your
blog.
dreams.
do not quit your day job. Put your dreams on hold.
No, that's not the answer either.
No, do it on weekends. Do it on weekends and let your job finance your dreams. And then when your dreams start taking off, that's when you can make the decision.
Well, what's very nice to me is that, in part, a lot of these shorts have been made with the camera that I won from that contest.
Yeah.
And with a camera that Alejandro...
Shout out to Cinegear.
Shout out to Cinegear, where we were the best independent short winner in 2017.
Heck yeah.
That was a huge surprise, and it was awesome.
And sometimes we shoot on my
Shout
camera.
out to Amy Vincent.
Sometimes
Shout
we
out
shoot
to
on
Amy
my
Vincent.
camera that I bought. Over the course of years.
That doesn't
Over the
it doesn't
course of
fit the
years.
narrative. It's not as inspiring.
Over the course of years, it
narrative.
was a loan that I paid off over the course of 3 years.
It's not as inspiring, man.
So
you gotta
real inspiring.
No, hard work pays off. He bought a camera.
You
It's
get
a sick
there.
camera. We shoot stuff with it. It's really good. It's a C300.
C300 Mark II, baby.
It's actually funny because there were a lot of times where you're like, I'm like, okay, we're gonna shoot the Sunny, and you're like, can we use my camera? And then everybody would ignore you, and then and then you're like, guys, can we shoot with my camera?
camera is
Can-
much
guys,
better.
hey guys, and we're just like, and it wasn't even actually there wasn't any thought behind it.
No, it wasn't. It was just that whatever.
It's just at my
camera
house.
you're-
like we
whatever
were just
camera
shooting
you're
at my
more-
house because there's a bunch of space here, and
Right.
so that just made sense to use the equipment that was already here.
Yeah.
And also we just didn't really care that much about the aesthetics, right?
It's true.
Yeah, that's why they hired me.
And actually, Alejandro, we get a lot of compliments on the ones that Alejandro does, but
It's
then
true.
the other ones, like, nobody cares.
Right. That's the problem.
But so we learned the hard way. It's really important to have somebody
DP.
who is good and cares. And we were trying to build a roster of DPs, and we kind of
Failed on that front.
we got John did one,
Right. Our buddy John shot one, the hand waving one.
and then I've done a
you're
bunch of
gonna see.
shitty camera work.
Wait, but is this going to come out before the hand-waving one has come out?
It's
So
all
it's
right.
supposed to
You'll
seem
either
like-
see it eventually or you'll see it before
this
this.
stuff's maybe a little out of order, and you'll figure it out.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know. Is that kind of all we have to say about this one?
Well, I thought I can say the perspective of wearing a giant sheet. and
Oh,
a
yeah,
giant
talk about
shawl
that, sure.
And being
Yeah.
a gypsy woman.
Yeah, talk about how you approach that character.
I thought about what it would be like to be a crazy old woman, and then I did that.
Yeah.
And I remember bending over like halfway doubled over and like almost scraping the ground with my head. And you're like, that's too much. I was like, "Rah, rah," coming at you, making all these noises. I think the most fun part of it was just making the noises that I was making coming up to you.
No, you really like that. You
just
like being.
like-
I remember there's another video we did in
Yeah.
college where and it had to be like a naked gremlin in a room,
Yeah.
and you really got into making the noise, and it was like the same
Something-
kind of noise that you made in this one.
Something so wonderful about being crazy, pretending to be crazy.
You like to act. I think
Yeah.
you really do.
I do. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I don't think I've worked with really talented actors, and that's a way to cure you of being an actor because you're like, oh my God, you're so good at this. And plus, you know, if I ever really seriously considered it, auditions suck.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's true.
being
No, you
that
would just
you're part
get,
of
you
life.
would become an actor because people would see these things and they'd say, oh, we
Right.
feel like there's a role for Jake in this.
Right.
That's
I would
it.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be it.
That would be the only circumstance.
Yeah.
Because I also have thought about acting at various junctures, but I
Right.
don't want to put in the effort.
You know what's so funny?
You guys
is
are both pretty good on camera, I think.
our
Your
acting-
hard-boiled cop is awesome.
Oh, dude.
It's so funny.
Our acting started in Santa Cruz in college
Right.
when Will and I met, and we just, because we didn't have anyone else to cast in our pieces, we would just act in them. And so we've been in front of the camera for 15 years. Before that, even before that.
It's so generous.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, in front of the camera, right? Like,
Yeah.
but we've been around cameras and in front of the cameras and cast ourselves. And so I'm a lot more comfortable in front of the camera and behind the camera because of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Did you guys talk about the different endings that were shot and the conversation behind it?
That's right.
Because I thought that was really good
What
conversation.
was it? What did we do?
That's
What
right.
was
We
it?
did one with your teeth was all
We're
fucked
all
up.
messed
you're
up.
right.
We like ate
With all the
Oreos.
protein.
You're right. We
With
did
the
one where
protein
actually the
shake.
curse came
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
We did do a
That was
version.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite conversations about this was like figuring out how it was going to end. Yeah.
I think okay. So
Oh,
I
the cur- you
remember.
already
I
said
remember you getting your teeth super gross with Oreos.
Yeah,
It
no,
looked
it was
pretty
like
gross, yeah.
we made a mixture of like your pea protein powder
That's right.
and like some corn chips or something,
Yeah,
and then I
it's just
chewed it all up,
disgusting.
and then it was like all caked on my
It
teeth.
looked like fucked up gums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Real
it was
bad.
that the insert for we were gonna do like a Ren and Stimpy
Yeah.
close up, wolf howling at the moon shot of my disgusting teeth in a macro shot.
But here's the real thing.
Yeah,
I think we decided not to use that ending
Yeah.
because we love the absurdity of leading people to believe that
Yeah.
the curse would come true.
Yes, yeah.
And then thwarting that.
Yeah.
And being like, curses aren't
it's
true.
not real. Yeah,
Curses aren't true, guys.
yeah. You just watch me do all my chores.
Right. Yeah, so if you listen to this first and you haven't seen it, go get tricked into watching Will do his chores at Alejandro's place. Or Alejandro's chores, rather. All right, I think we said all we can say.
Yeah, I
about
think we always
Sunday.
said about that, but that started the whole thing. Then it was after
Yeah.
that we were like, oh, we were pretty happy with it.
Yeah,
you know,
this is-
like
this
I
went
showed it to
well.
people and like they liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody like lost their minds.
No, we
'cause
didn't
It was
get
so
the-
funny,
yeah.
but people at least were like, oh yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah,
or it was,
that
it was good.
Oh, you guys are back. Oh, so glad you're back.
Yeah, people were like very supportive, and so
Yeah.
then we were like, oh well, maybe we should do this continually.
It was a slog during, but then happy with the outcome.
And it reminded us that, oh yeah, we can just come up with some shit and
Right,
like
and
it'll
just
be
be
okay,
good.
and it'll be okay.
as long as we have Alejandro, when we started to lose Alejandro,
yeah, we
it's
got
a
a
little
little
harder.
shaky.
You guys are so sweet.
Because also
a little
Alejandro
harder.
is also for the idea. You know, he contributes to the
Right.
ideation process. And my favorite part is I feel like if we can all laugh, if we all think it's
Yes.
funny, and we're all like busting up laughing, then it's a good idea. And so it's been different. Still good
Yeah.
with other people, but I like the core team
I like the core
of the
core
three of
team
us
as well.
because it
I think
helped-
we've come up with some of our best stuff with just us three.
just us three sitting in a room and
Mm-hmm.
like getting kind of weird.
and laughing at ourselves.
Yeah. You know, so
Cool.
All right, that's it.